Okay, welcome back to Senate Education. It is April 1st, just about 4 o'clock, and we have Mark Peralta here to take us through the fiscal note on H426. Mr. Peralta.
So good afternoon, everyone. I know you've had a long day already. Fortunately, this is a really straightforward fiscal note on this bill. It basically has two appropriations in it. They're both fully funded out of federal funds, so there's no state money involved. The first appropriation and the most significant one is $2.5 million that's appropriated to the Agency of Education for them to go out and hire a consulting firm to conduct a school facilities condition assessment. It's thought that right now we know we have large unmet needs out in the districts for some additional school construction work, but we don't know where the needs are, how much they are, what the costs are, and exactly what needs to get done. So the idea is that this would provide us with a roadmap so that down the line, if, for example, we get some money for this purpose from the infrastructure bill, it's like it's moving at the federal level, we'll be ready to go and utilize some of the money. We arrived at the $2.5 million. It's a rough number. It's up to $2.5 million. It was just based on what other states have paid consulting firms to do this kind of work based on the amount they pay per square foot multiplied by the square footage of all of the schools, public schools in Vermont. The other appropriation is a one-time limited position also in the Agency of Education, $127,500. Again, federal funds for a limited service position to provide technical assistance to guide the agency through this process. Just as by way of background, I think you're all aware that we stopped providing aid for most school construction projects a number of years ago, so that the only money that's been available to districts is for emergency repairs and a few other things along the lines. But primarily, it's not been available, so school districts have been on their own if they want to go ahead and do school construction. The problem with that is that the districts that are most in need of spending on school construction may not be the districts that are able to pass a bond and get it into their budget. The districts that are able to pass bonds may not be the ones in the most need. So it's sort of been it hasn't been a rational process going forward on some of these projects. And there was some concern a couple of years ago that some school districts were going ahead with very, very large projects. And because of the way the education fund works, no one district actually raises all the money that they spend on their own homestead property tax rate. So the education fund and other taxpayers were basically helping to fund some of those projects. And the thought is that the projects that were likely to move forward may not be the ones that you'd like to have go forward if you were doing this on a more rational basis. The only other wrinkle in here is that the appropriations have come out of a couple different pots of federal money, but it's basically ESSER 1 and ESSER 2. Fortunately, at this point, we have really good guidance on how that money can be used in those first two pots. Not so much on ARPA, but on ESSER 1 and ESSER 2 we do. This is clearly a legitimate use of the money, but it is broken up into two pots. ESSER 1, there's $627,500 of the $2.5 million, and the remainder of it, about $1.9 million, is coming out of ESSER 2. So unless you have any questions, I think that's about all I can tell you.
Senator Lyons.
Yeah, I guess my question is, was there discussion about doing all this planning and then finding out that there aren't ARPA funds or there aren't funds to go forward and do the work? I mean, and the plans get left behind.
Yeah, I mean, this bill actually started over a year ago, and at that time there wasn't any anticipation that we were going to get any federal money. I think it's likely that the money that might go to this is the infrastructure bill. It's moving at the federal level. It hasn't happened, but there's a lot of money in there that would be targeted towards this kind of thing, and that money could be used. By the time that rolls around, hopefully this study would have been completed, and we'll have sort of a roadmap as to where the greatest needs are and what the costs are likely to be.
So we're still pretty optimistic that the infrastructure bill will include opportunities for school
I
capital.
think that's a hope. And again, when this bill was
Yeah,
started its journey, there wasn't any money available for it,
Yeah.
but it was considered to be a first step in order to start moving forward and providing additional, state aid for construction. So, at one point we provided 25% aid for school construction projects. That went away, and school districts that wanted to go ahead had to be completely on their own, with the subsidy from the ed fund. But
You recall, Senator Lyons, that we talked about this in institutions last year or last
I
session.
do.
Right.
I do.
So it was on track before this money was available.
Yeah, it would be great that to be able to count on some
mhm.
dollars. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Pearl? Whoa,
Great,
All
that was
right.
easy.
there you go. Can you come up with money for after school program? No, just kidding. Okay.
That's
All right.
next week, right? You're gonna
Right.
talk about the uses of the ESSER monies, yeah.
Okay. Okay. If there are
All
no
right.
other questions, then you're free to go.
Thank you very much. Good to see you all.
Thank you. Take care.
Mhm.
All right. Well, committee, it's 4:04. And if you have questions or comments or things that you want to talk about, we can do that. We can talk about the chair since he isn't here, but we won't. Okay. So, any questions or thoughts? Senator Lyons.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. But remember, the chair's going to look at the YouTube. So,
Yes, he is.
yeah.
Chair's been doing a great job, I wanted to say.
Yes.
Of getting out early. All right. Okay. If that's it, then thank
We're
you all
good.
very much. See you tomorrow.
Okay, I'll end live stream now.
Thank you,